Yo, what's up guys? Welcome to a new video. This is the 4th installment of my fantasy schedule. I hope y'all enjoy it. We're trying to hit 10k subscribers, so please subscribe and like the video and watch all the way to the end, and I'll see you at the end.
Good morning.
Coming up on Cartoon Network. Next. Coming up next.
What's new, Scooby-Doo?
On Cartoon Network. Coming up next.
Meg.
On Cartoon Network. Coming up on Cartoon Network. Next. Coming up on Cartoon Network. Next. Coming up on Cartoon Network. Next. Coming up next.
Ben 10 Omniverse.
On Cartoon Network. Coming up next.
The Amazing World of Gumball.
On Cartoon Network. Coming up next.
Steven Universe.
On Cartoon Network. Coming up next.
More Steven Universe.
On Cartoon Network. Coming up on Cartoon Network. Next. Coming up on Cartoon Network. Next.
Mad.
Coming up on Cartoon Network. Next.
The Looney Tunes Show.
Coming up on Cartoon Network. Next.
Chowder.
Coming up on Cartoon Network.
More Chowder.
Coming up next.
Tenkai Knights.
On Cartoon Network. Coming up on Cartoon Network. Next. Coming up on Cartoon Network. Next.
Tom and Jerry meet Sherlock Holmes.
Coming up on Cartoon Network. Next. Coming up on Cartoon Network. Next.
Camp Lazlo.
Coming up next.
Teen Titans Go.
On Cartoon Network. Coming up next.
Uncle Grandpa.
On Cartoon Network. Coming up next.
Adventure Time.
On Cartoon Network. Coming up next.
Regular Show.
On Cartoon Network.
Check out what's coming up tonight on Cartoon Network.
Next. Later.
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 On Cartoon Network.
Coming up on Cartoon Network.
Next.
Coming up on Cartoon Network. Next.
Powerpuff Girls.
Coming up next.
Clarence.
On Cartoon Network. Coming up next.
Total Drama Island.
On Cartoon Network. Coming up next.
More Total Drama Island.
On Cartoon Network. Coming up on Cartoon Network. Next.
Generator Rex.
Coming up next.
Courage the Cowardly Dog.
On Cartoon Network. Coming up next.
Pokemon, The Rise of Darkrai.
On Cartoon Network. Coming up next.
Johnny Test.
On Cartoon Network. Coming up on Cartoon Network. Next. Coming up on Cartoon Network. Next. Coming up next.
Ed, Ed, and Eddie.
On Cartoon Network.
Wow, you actually listened to what I said in the intro. You made it to the end. Thank you very much. Hopefully you subscribed and you enjoyed the video, and we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers, so please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.
Like Freddy, I'm in his dreams. I'm finna pull up the lean. Ain't Halloween, but I make niggas scream when I pull up with the beam.